The NFL just cannot catch a break. When we all want to talk football and watch football and just ignore the outside noise, there are more cases that come abroad. And Adrian Peterson now is in the news after being indicted for charges of child abuse on his 4-year-old son. Just like Ray Rice, this is another touchy subject that is a big problem in America. And it also leaves you with question marks in your head as to what should the NFL do with Adrian Peterson. Welcome back to the Best Damn Sports Blog. Back again to talk NFL with you guys. Of course, not on-field action. Of course, it has to be off the field because the NFL seems to be flooded with off-the-field issues and stories. But now, Adrian Peterson, a prominent figure in the NFL, is facing charges of child abuse. And when I first heard the story, I thought nothing much of it. I thought, oh, he probably just got a little carried away with how he punished his child and that it was no big deal. It was just a mistake that sometimes parents make. But when you see the pictures of the scars on that young boy, I did not know he was 4 years old either when I first heard the story. When you see those scars on that 4-year-old, you have to think that Adrian Peterson was in a rage. Now, that's not to say that Adrian Peterson is a serial child abuser. But from time to time, parents do overreact. Sometimes the belt does get away from them, and they may not hit you in your buttocks. It may hit your legs a few times. It may whip around and maybe hit your face depending on how you're positioned. I know firsthand because I was whipped as a child. I was not whipped by a switch, but I was whipped. The statement Adrian Peterson released through his attorney basically stating that this was the way he was raised in Texas growing up as a kid, and he's just punishing his kids the way he was punished by his mother. I find that to ring truthful. I know for a fact that there are families that whip their children with switches prior generations. Not in this day and age, I'm not sure if that's still prevalent, but I know for a fact that this has taken place. I know people firsthand who've been whipped by switches, even had to go pick out their own switch. That was a part of our culture at one time. Even teachers used to be allowed to butt paddle children back in the 70s and 60s. Now, these are all reasons why when I first heard this story, it didn't grab my attention. It didn't really affect me. But when I seen the pictures of his son's legs, that changed everything for me. And it let me know that Adrian Peterson may not be a child abuser, but that day he took it way too far to bruise up his son's legs the way they were bruised up. That's all I've seen. I don't know if there's other pictures, but the bruises on his legs look to be excessive and as if Adrian Peterson had snapped in that moment, which is completely wrong as a parent. Now, I'm not here to try to tell people how to raise their kids, but in 2014, you will not get away with this kind of stuff. I know Adrian Peterson was raised like that in the 80s and 90s where you go get your switch and then you take your butt whipping and you go on. But in this day and age, you cannot do that to these children. And maybe that's the reason why this generation is so messed up. And they seem to be so disrespectful and not have respect for their elders. But this is the reality that we live in. But the Vikings, they deserve a round of applause. And I give them a salute for how they handled this situation. Instead of waiting for the reaction, they took action by deactivating Adrian Peterson, something the NFL should have probably considered with Ray Rice and the Baltimore Ravens as well. But the Vikings, they took action. They didn't need there to be a public backlash for them to remove Adrian Peterson. So I salute them on that. Now going forward, what should the NFL do with Adrian Peterson? I am not sure because this is a tough subject. The Vikings have already reported that they may trade Adrian Peterson, but they will not release him. But I don't think Adrian Peterson should be banned. Definitely, he should not be banned from the NFL for this. Maybe a suspension should be handed down. I'm not sure. I think they should allow the legal process to play out and then react from there. But regardless, this is an unfortunate situation, and it's just unfortunate that the NFL is reaching the headlines for what is taking place off the field rather than what is taking place on it.